John was a soldier in the US Army. The time is 5 minutes before 7. At 7 p.m. exactly, he's supposed to meet here in the train station the love of his life. He doesn't know what her age. He doesn't know how she looks like. But one thing he knows for sure. He fell in love with her, even though he didn't see her even once in his life. Do you want to know how it all began? Tell me, do you want to know how it all began, Rina? I want to see you shouting, okay, 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 I'll tell you. It all began a year before. He entered into a second-hand bookshop, tried to find something interesting. He took a book from one of the shelves and started browse it. At the margins of the pages, he saw delicate handwriting, remarks full of wisdom. He took the book, he paid for it, and went home. At home, he tried to find her name, and in a folder corner of a page, he saw her name. Ah, Lucy. That was her name, Lucy Milner. And then he tried to find her address. And when he found her address, he took a letter. He wrote her a letter. He put it in a white small envelope and posted it. A week has passed. And one morning, he got a letter from Lucy. Wow, wow. Then they keep on keep on responding. He writes to her and she writes back. Every time that he asks her for her age or maybe send a picture, she gently refused by saying, one day we will meet. And that day has eventually arrived. Today at 7 p.m. exactly, they're supposed to meet here in the train station. In order to recognize each other, they decided that he will hold a leather book cover and Lucy, oh Lucy, Lucy will wear a red rose on her blouse. And now he's standing here in the train station. He's very exciting. His heart is like boom, boom, boom. He's wearing his best clothes. He's looking at the clock on the wall. Tick, tack, tick, tack, until it reaches 7 p.m. At 7 p.m. exactly, the train enters the platform. The doors open and everybody getting off. He's looking around, wondering, pondering how she might look like. Suddenly, a very tall young lady with long legs and brown hair and a mini green skirt is approaching him. She's even smiling to him and she has a great perfume, but there is no rose to be seen. And he's taking a deep breath and keep on waiting. The doors of the train close and it's depart to its next station. And he's standing here at the platform. He's looking on the left, he sees a couple in love kissing. And on the other side, he sees a janitor. And then behind a column, he sees her, Lucy Milner, a 70 years old woman, gray hair, short legs, simple dress, and she's wearing a red rose on her blouse. Wow. He's starting to think. He doesn't know what to do. Maybe going after this young lady with the brown hair. Listen, he wanted a romantic. But after he remembers the meaningful corresponding, he's taking a deep breath. He's going to the old lady and say, hello, I'm John. Nice to meet you. I think maybe we can go to the moment. The old lady gave him a big smile and she says, oh, young man, I really don't know what's going on here, but I'm sure that you saw the young lady with the green skirt. Well, she get down from the train and she begged me to put the rose on my blouse. And she says that if you will invite me, so she is waiting for you there at the cafe around the corner. Thank you. This is the story.
Beautiful, Lilach. Did you write it?
No, it's a story that I know for a long time. Shulamit Ish Kishore, she wrote it. I heard it from an old lady a long time ago, and I loved it. And I'm telling it in my shows.
Well, now let me really understand it. It was a test, right? The young lady was testing the man to see if he was, if he would talk to the senior lady, even though she wasn't young. The young lady was testing him. Is that correct?
Yeah. Actually, in the test, it's written there at the end that she said, so she's waiting for you there at the cafe around the corner. She said it's a kind of a test, but I didn't want to tell it. I think that I left it like that. Yes, but it's definitely, yes, it's
So
a test.
he passed the test, right? What did he say?
He passed the test, yes.
Excuse me, I didn't quite catch it. What did he say to the senior lady?
He told her, hello, I'm John. Nice to meet you. I want to take you to the cafe around the corner. Maybe we can chat a little. He went to the old lady.
Yes.
Even though he saw the young lady and he wanted to go with her.
Yes. I get it.
I really liked the beginning part. For me, really caught me in. It was when you had like a specific time and you really built the suspense for me with the story, in that you were like tick tock, like you gave all the and the heart was pounding, so you were bringing it is right there.
Can't hear you. I don't know why.
Can everybody else hear me?
Yeah, well,
Yes.
Judy, go ahead.
Okay. So to me, at the in the case of, at the very beginning, when you were saying, because he had us all muted, you were saying let you know it had an awkward beginning because of that. So take into account the fact that if people can't really easily respond to you for whatever reason, usually you're probably in front of a live audience, and that's a great interaction with them. But if you're on something like this, for me, it was awkward because I knew I couldn't. So I just sort of did this, but I wasn't sure whether you would see it or not. The part that to me really brought me into the story was the 7 minutes, and don't you want to hear it, but I'm going to tell you. And then you're sharing all that. I love the fact that he's looking around, the time is ticking, and as it gets closer, maybe you want to build a little bit of anticipation, because you did with the heart pounding. So now the train's here, and he thought maybe she came by train. So he's looking, you know, like that that would add a little more suspense, so that when he does see that beautiful lady, and maybe have other terms than long legs, because not everybody's into long legs, you know, just she struck him as a beautiful, you know, striking, you know, young woman, and he was looking, and then no flower. So, oh, okay, but she was still a beautiful woman. I mean, he's a young man, of course he can look. And that she even reciprocated, which makes it really nice, because she knew who he was at that point, and that was her. But she then made him so she could see his anticipation. So maybe play that a little bit to add to the dimension. We know at the end, but maybe play that moment a bit. It was almost as though she was her, you know, she took the time to look at me, whereas everybody else was passing by. Oh, but she doesn't have the rose, something like that. That might build it. And then the woman at the top, try to describe her a bit more. Have a real, pick an old woman that you know, somebody you know, see her features, so that when he does see a little bit of, you know, red peeking out, he realizes it's a rose. And then he looks, and describe her height first, and then, you know, whatever, until he finally gets, she was a 70-year-old. Like, so we don't know until the very end of his description that it's a 70-year-old woman. You know, she was sort of, you know, curvy. She was that, like, whatever way you want to describe it. So you leave us believing she's the one, you know, and then he can go through his emotional turmoil when he realizes it's this 80-year-old, and it builds it more. Like, the more you can make people go back and forth with their emotions, the more we're drawn in. But it's a great story. It is a really fabulous story. And it is really, you know, it shows you, even though we are all about visual, then in the end, he had a heart of depth, you know, and you don't have to, like the woman who said, oh, well, it was a test. You don't have to tell us that. You're right. You don't have to explain any of that, you know, just, oh, and she's waiting over there. That's a nice way of, you know, and maybe even that he can see her smiling, and he starts walking towards her or something, you know, whatever, however you want to end it. But it's a great story. And if you could build those details a bit more, I think it will make it stronger.
So I have a question for you. At the story, at the original, she was 40, not 70, but 40 is not a dilemma.
Yes, but I think when maybe the story was written, 40 was a dilemma. So yes,
Yeah.
I agree, you should make her older. You don't maybe have to make her 70, you could make her 60. Because if he's in
60.
his 20, and the one thing that you might want to mention is somewhere how old he is. Because we don't know, he could be 60. We have no idea how old he is. Right?
No, he was a soldier in the US Army. I'm saying at the beginning that he was a soldier in the US Army. So he's
soldiers in US Army, okay, well, I don't know, but if you got in young, you could be a soldier and be 40. You know, you could. I had a relative who went all the way to colonel, and he was into his 50s. You know, I mean, because he took more desk jobs, not the physical. So yes, I mean, he was. You could say he was a young soldier. He just entered the army, something, whatever. But I do agree that showing that contrast, because nowadays 40s aren't like it was way back when. You know, 40 was really old at one point. You know, but it no, being older than 40 now, I know it isn't.
Yeah, I got you. Thank you. It was very good to hear you. Very good things for me. I must admit that this is my first time that I'm telling stories in English, so it's like eating stones for me. So it's difficult.
It didn't come across. The only thing where I did notice that you were having a language problem, and you should have, if you could, just move on quicker. Don't get caught in the word, the correspondence. They had correspondence back. Once you got into, and if correspondence is hard for you to remember, just, they began writing back and forth, back and forth. Keep it simple for you, because the audience doesn't care whether you use the word correspondence or back and forth. What they need to see is a clear line of communication. Okay, so that's, use words that are easier for you to grapple with. Okay, hold on to.
Great. Okay, thank you.
I must say, now that I'm 63, 40 seems very young.
That's right.
40
I'm
is
50, and so it's
50 is
40. It's
young too.
great.
40, 50, those are kids.
Yes.
Lilach, I wanted to say that I just appreciated your pacing and how you modulated being a little bit louder and then coming in quietly and really creating a sense of intimacy and immediacy with your story. So you really brought us into it by living it moment by moment and creating that sense of really being present with it. And really lovely example of how to use your voice and how to really connect with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I wanted to know how they fell in love. I really did.
Lilach, which language do you normally tell stories in?
Hebrew. I'm from Israel.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's Ifrit.
Wonderful. I would have loved to have a Hebrew love song somewhere. It would have added.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'll